What's up, y'all? It's Celeste. I've been taking Accutane now for about 2 months, and I wanted to make a little update about how things are going so far and some of the side effects I've gotten, and then, of course, have some comparison pictures. I actually made a video a couple weeks ago that was supposed to be my 6-week update, but I never ended up finishing it. However, I like most of what I put in it, so instead of trying to redo all of that, recreate all of that in this video, I'm just going to stick it in here. So my hair is going to look a little bit different, and some other things going to look a little bit different, but that's why it's just from a couple weeks ago. So here is that part. First, I want to give just kind of a hopefully brief background on me and my acne situation. I've tried to film this part several times, and it's very hard to keep it brief because I'm 37 and I've had acne since I was a teenager, so it's like 23 years of history here, which I obviously don't want to go into all the details of, but kind of the short version is that as a teenager I had kind of typical teenage acne where it was like oily T-zone and, you know, like random breakouts and stuff like that. As I got older, it turned more into hormonal acne where it coincides with my cycle and is mostly on the bottom half of my face, so like a lot around my mouth, my jawline, my chin, my cheeks, and stuff like that. I don't usually get too many toward the top. That hasn't always been true. In my 20s, I still got a lot of that, but for the most part, I would say it's mostly in the bottom half of my face. And I also tend not to get like breakouts where it's like a whole portion of my face. It was more like the kind of big, like deep, painful ones, but like kind of spread out. Right now, I actually have it more in kind of patches on my cheeks especially, which most of this right now is actually not active. It's kind of just like redness from like leftover from previous breakouts. The reason that it changed is that I was taking testosterone for about 9.5 months total. I kind of took it off and on for a couple of years because I'm transgender, and I'm not going to go into all the details of all of that because I have a whole playlist of that, which I'll link up there if you want to learn more about that and like all about my testosterone journey. But the kind of shorter version of it is that I took it temporarily because I'm non-binary. I didn't want all of the effects of testosterone, but I did want some. So that was how I did it. When I was taking testosterone, I actually didn't have a huge increase in acne like you might expect. I did get acne in new places. I hadn't really had a problem with acne in my chest and back before, and I got some of that while I was on testosterone. It wasn't really bad, but it was like significantly more than I had had previously. And on my face, it didn't really get too much worse either. It actually kind of leveled out to some degree because I was no longer having my cycle, so my hormones were like staying pretty steady. They weren't going up and down all month like they usually would. So it was actually after I stopped taking testosterone this past June that it got to where it is now, where it's like I'm getting these like patches of acne here. I'm getting lots of breakouts still on my chin. Through all of this, I was on some topicals that were helping a little bit, but not enough. And the only thing that ever really helped me significantly was spironolactone, which I took on and off for I don't even know how long. I think I started taking it in college. It might have been high school. I can't remember. It's been a long time. I didn't take it like straight through then till now, but I would say more often than not I was taking it. I did stop taking it a couple years ago because I was going to be starting testosterone. And spironolactone is an anti-androgen, whereas testosterone is an androgen. So it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to take both of them at once. And actually, spironolactone, even if you're not taking testosterone, has demasculinizing effects, which is why a lot of trans feminine people, like trans women, take it to suppress their natural levels of testosterone. So again, I'm not going to go into all the details of that. If you don't know much about trans healthcare or like hormone replacement therapy or anything, I'm not going to go too much into detail. But that's the basic thing, is that spironolactone would move me more toward feminine and less from masculine, which is not what I want. So I didn't want to go back on spironolactone. So my dermatologist said, well, we've basically tried everything, and if you don't want to go on spironolactone, then pretty much Accutane is all that's left. The reason it was never tried for me before is because I've never had kind of the, I don't know, stereotypical type of acne that people expect Accutane to be prescribed for, which is like really severe acne or cystic acne, or where it's like, I don't know, all over your whole face or whatnot. My acne has never been like that, but it's been very persistent, where like I've had periods where it's gotten completely clear for a portion of time, and then it would just go back to being broken out again, and it would just like kind of always be going back and forth, and I never could get rid of it. So Accutane is pretty much all that's left, and my dermatologist was willing to try it. I was willing to do it, so that's what I'm doing. I'm really, really, really hoping that it gets rid of my acne, because it's been very frustrating to like, I just don't want to spend the whole rest of my life battling this. And like, even if spironolactone, like if I were okay taking it, it doesn't do a perfect job, and I don't really want to spend the rest of my life taking a medication that's not getting rid of my acne, you know? So basically this is kind of my like last ditch effort to hopefully get rid of the acne, and that's my hope. I know that it's not like guaranteed, but that's what I'm crossing my fingers for. So now that all that background is out of the way, I'm going to talk about some side effects. The number one side effect that I've gotten, and the first side effect that I noticed, was dryness. It didn't first start as like feeling like my skin was dry so much as just my whole body and self was just drier than usual. I felt really thirsty, and that started kind of kicking in probably 2 to 3 days after I started Accutane, probably 2 days after I started. I just felt thirstier, I felt drier, I felt like I needed more water in my system, and so I, at this point, am drinking probably like 50% more water than I was, and I was already drinking a decent amount of water. That's all I drink. And I drink it all day long, and now I'm drinking it even more all day long, and having to go to the bathroom like all the time. So that's pretty annoying. It's kind of annoying when I like have to go off somewhere, like go out shopping or something, that I take water with me because I'm so thirsty, but then like I constantly have to find a bathroom. It's really kind of frustrating. But anyway, but for the most part, my skin itself didn't seem that much drier, other than like a little bit around the corners of my mouth and my nose. And maybe my eyebrows. Those are the places that I tend to get dry skin the fastest, and so that's kind of where it showed up first, other than my lips being chapped, which they were already kind of chronically chapped before I even started taking Accutane, but now they're even worse. This past week, I started to get more dry skin on my face, where there's like these little patches of just kind of peeling skin. And at this point, that isn't really happening as much, so I don't know if that was just kind of like a mass exfoliation of my skin that happened over a couple of days. I'm sure it'll happen again, but it seems to maybe be happening kind of in like waves or phases or something, and not just constant. So that's kind of interesting. I haven't really noticed any significant dryness on the rest of my body, basically just my face and ears. But I'm also getting a lot of flushing on my skin. I don't know if you can tell right now, it is a little bit pink. But I'm tending to get like here on my cheeks, my nose, my chin, a little bit on my forehead, and then my ears. So pretty much all of like the most protruding parts of my head are getting pink and warm feeling. It doesn't hurt. It's not really uncomfortable too much. It kind of just feels like when you get a sunburn or something, or if you're like blushing really hard and you just kind of feel like some heat in your face, and it looks really red. Right now it's just a little bit pinkish, but sometimes when it gets really bad, it's like red, and it's really embarrassing. That kind of is annoying. I've also, over the last couple of days, started to get that in my hands as well, like especially on like my knuckles and kind of just like the back of my hand, and then a little bit on the palms of my hand as well. That's been kind of happening more and more. It started as something that was kind of just like coming and going every so often, but now it's like every day, and it's several times a day where I can just feel it happening. So hoping that's going to go away after I stop taking Accutane. I have heard that it's possible that for some people it doesn't go away. I guess I would still rather have that than to have acne. So I guess it's an okay trade-off, but I'm hoping that I won't have to make that trade-off. I'm hoping that I won't have either one. So we'll see about that. I also had some muscle weakness and pain for a few weeks. It kind of seems to have gone away over the last week, which is really good. Because it was never like a thing where I was like constantly hurting or anything. It was more when I worked out, I noticed it. My muscles seemed to not have the same endurance, and also there were certain movements I would do where suddenly they would hurt that did not hurt before. Like doing wide push-ups, I like suddenly could not do them because my shoulder was just killing me when I would go down. And I had no problem with it before that, and over the last week or so I've had no problem at all. I can go all the way down with like no pain at all. So I definitely think it was from the Accutane. Also, my joints in general kind of just felt more cracky. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, you know, when you like crack your joints, like crack your knuckles or your neck or something like that, and it's like that really satisfying crack. That's one thing. Then there's the other one where it's like you're not actually cracking it the same way, but it kind of makes a similar sound, but it's not really a satisfying feeling. It's just kind of like you just feel it cracking over and over again. That's kind of what it was doing, where it's just like things were just feeling really cracky and like, I don't know, like not well lubricated, I guess. That has also seemed to have gotten better over the last week or so. So hopefully that will continue to not be a problem. And the other thing that I noticed pretty early on was I have been getting much weirder dreams, much weirder and more vivid dreams. And I already got really weird and vivid dreams. I already naturally get really weird and vivid dreams, but I'm also on 2 other medications that have that as a side effect. So my dreams are usually like pretty weird and very vivid and tend to be somewhat violent and like, I don't know, just kind of weird stuff. Since I started taking Accutane like the last couple of months, they've been not necessarily any weirder, but just different. I tend to have the same kind of themes and elements showing up in my dreams like constantly, like every night, in like different combinations, but still like very repetitive kind of things showing up. And those things are still there to some degree, but I feel like I've had more unique dreams since I started taking this, which is kind of interesting. So that's not a bad thing for me. I have heard other people say that they like suddenly had like really violent and disturbing dreams and they weren't used to that, so it was really upsetting. I'm pretty used to it, so it hasn't really been a problem for me, but it is definitely something that has happened. So that's something to keep in mind. I have not noticed any mood changes or emotional changes or anything like that. When I started taking Accutane, before I started taking Accutane, I had to get cleared by my psychiatrist because I'm on an antidepressant. Well, it's actually a mood stabilizer. And Accutane can cause depression or can worsen depression and cause suicidal ideation and stuff like that. So I had to get cleared for that. So that was a concern, but I haven't noticed that at all. I haven't noticed any kind of mood changes or depression or really anything to that of that nature. So now for some comparison pictures. I'm definitely seeing some improvement already. There are a few bumps here on both sides, and most of the bumps that I have are kind of along my jawline, which I think are mostly triggered by me shaving, because I'm probably not that great at shaving yet. But I haven't gotten as many new bumps, and I'm not, generally, my skin just does not feel as, I don't know, kind of aggravated as it did previously. So I think that covers everything I wanted to in this video, but I will be making more updates in the future. So if you want to see those, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below if you have any questions you want me to talk about with Accutane, or if you just want to share your experience, I'd be interested to hear that as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.